Taraxacum officinale. The nickname for this plant is Dandelion. This is part 1, and in part 2 I'll be sharing a mnemonic or memory technique to help you commit to memory the most distinguishing characteristics of this plant for identifying purposes. Be sure to watch all of part 1 so that part 2 is understandable. This is a weedy plant. Ordinarily, it is about 1 foot tall and 1 foot across. As you see, it is an erect flowering stem which grows from out of a rosette of leaves. The leaves are ordinarily about 6 to 8 inches long, but they can grow up to 12 inches long. So if this is ordinarily 6 inches long and this is ordinarily 6 inches long, the total diameter of the plant is around 12 inches or 1 foot across, up to 1 foot long. Now this plant can grow up to 18 inches long or 18 inches tall. The flowers are yellow. The stem is hollow. This is a picture that shows us also how the deeply lobed leaves resemble lion's teeth, if triangular. But here I wanted you to see how they point downward. This is a characteristic of the Dandelion, where these triangular lobes or teeth point downward. It's helpful to remember that when trying to distinguish this plant from some of its non-poisonous lookalikes, when the stem and the flower is not available for identifying. Another example of how the stem is erect, grows from out of this rosette or circular formation of leaves. Distinguishing characteristic of this plant from its lookalikes is the fact that it has a naked stem. There are no branches and there are no leaves on the stem, where one particular lookalike does have leaves on the stem. Notice here how some of the younger leaves of this plant, the Dandelion, have lobes which are not as shallow, or that they are more shallow than these deep lobes here. Again, notice how the teeth of the lion point downward. Part 2, might as well mention this, part 2 during the mnemonic is going to be very brief. Essentially, because throughout the plant world, this plant, the dandelion, is known as the tooth or teeth of the lion. The reason why it's nicknamed Dandelion is because the teeth, again, a distinguishing characteristic when the flower and the stem is not available. Notice how the lion's teeth point downward, which renders the lion harmless or dead. Dead, the lion, dead teeth, pointing downward, harmless, cannot bite you. There is only one flowering head per stem. There could be multiple stems, but only one flowering head per stem. That's important to remember. Whereas one particular lookalike, nickname in this course, lion's paw, can have, or usually do have, multiple flowers atop each stem. The stems and the leaves, when they are broken, emit a milky white sap. This leaf shows us how the outermost leaf, the outermost tip of the leaf here is larger typically. Here too we see how the tip of the leaf is much larger. This is what is referred to as an oblong shape, almost lance shape, but it's oblong, oblance, where the top is more broad than the base. The surface of the leaves are smooth. They can have tiny soft hairs, but again, if these flowers and stems are not available, a second way, besides looking at the direction of the teeth, is to remember that which is covered on the poisonous lookalikes chart. There are actually no poisonous lookalikes, but it's important to distinguish this plant from other edible lookalikes if you're wanting to use it for medicine. Anyway, to distinguish this plant from its edible lookalikes, you would want to notice how, again, the triangular lobes point down. The surface of the leaves are smooth, or in other words, hairless. The surface of the leaves can have tiny, soft hairs, but if they have rough hairs, you have one of its other edible lookalikes. The bottom surface of the leaf, if we were to flip this leaf over, the midrib of the leaf here on the bottom surface, if it has spines, then you do not have a dandelion. You would have, in fact, in this course, a plant which is nicknamed broom. You would have the broom plant, where there are spines, which in the mnemonic represent the ants walking through your kitchen on the floor. And then they would have the ants or spines around the edges here, where the ants had been walking around the corner or the edges or baseline of your kitchen before it heads toward the table where someone had left a sandwich which has bite marks in it, which would represent the C shape in the broom plant leaves. Anyway, I'm getting carried away, a little off base. Let me get back on track here. Dandelion, multiple ray flowers. There are hundreds of ray flowers here which make up the flower head. Okay? And there is no center disc, which would be associated with, say, the sunflower plant. Now, these flowers are certainly not as large as the sunflower. These flowers span between 1 to 2 inches wide. Move on to another slide here. Make it a little bit more exciting for you. Now, these flowers, the yellow flowers, can actually turn into this very familiar puffball overnight. Very quick transition. Notice how the triangular teeth point downward or toward the base of the leaf or toward the center of the plant. Naked stems. Puffball. Now, in botany, the term seed and fruit sometimes interchangeable, especially with this plant. Technically, this is the fruit. These brown structures or parts you see here are what is referred to as the fruit. And the fruit is what is called an achene. Achene. And an achene actually has a seed. Now, fruit have seeds, okay? All fruit have seeds, all right? So each of these achenes have a seed inside. When I was researching this months ago, when I first came across this term during my research, looked into it, and there was a best example of an achene that I came across had to do with the sunflower. We all know what a sunflower seed looks like. Now, the shell and the seed together is what is referred to as the achene. The fruit has this one single seed inside. And that's the case here. Achenes generally have a seed which is so closely so closely so close to the wall where the two would almost seem inseparable, but the seed is always loose inside. Now, each achene is topped with a feathery pappus. It works like a parachute, helps to propagate the plant by being carried away by the wind. Notice the lower bract here. Now, the bracts of this plant, which is also present when it's flowering, point downward. Another picture of the achene. There are 5 to 10 longitudinal ribs. The Dandelion plant has a very long beak that the pappus is attached to. Again, a single seed inside each one. Bracts, call this the outer bract, which curve downward sharply. The stems are ordinarily light green. They can be reddish. This is what is referred to as the inner bract, which forms the globular or spherical shape surrounding the ray flowers. Teeth, triangular teeth or lobes pointing down. Dead the lion. Let's see, midrib on the underside of each leaf is smooth. Let's see, what else? What else do we have here? I'll move on. Moving on. These ray flowers are referred to in botany as being strap-shaped. When you see the term or read the term strap-shaped, this is what it is referring to. Smooth underside. Teeth are dead, pointing downward, Dandelion. This is a sizable leaf. Rosette, circular formation of flower. Basal rosette, being close to the ground, is referred to as the term basal, and rosette, the circular formation of leaves. Teeth all pointing down. This is from where the flowering stem will arise. Hundreds of ray flowers, strap-shaped. Bract, outer bract pointed downward sharply. Now, on this plant's fact sheet, there is an area titled Methods of Preparation, and even on the edibles use or the edible use pocket chart, we will find that the leaves, or I should say the flower leaves as well, but I'm here in this case pointing out the fact that each flower is edible. But these green parts are much too bitter, so when you are eating any of these flowers, just be sure to not include the green part with your edibles, just the yellow part. Another good example of showing how the triangular lobes point downward here. Whoa, don't know what happened there. I think I hit some type of an automatic, I don't know why it did that. Anyway, here we are with the bracts again pointing downward sharply. Let me carefully push this arrow. I think last time I pushed that play arrow where it just played through all the slides. More flowering heads. One atop each stem, no center disc. This plant bears a taproot. It is beige. It too emits a milky white sap. And the edible parts of this plant are the stems, the leaves, the roots, and the flowers. As I said earlier, to learn how to prepare these plants, refer to the facts or this plant's fact sheet and click on the methods or refer to the methods of preparation section, and you'll learn how to prepare the parts there. This has been part 1. And in part 2, I'll be sharing the mnemonic or memory technique to help you commit to memory the most distinguishing characteristics of this plant, Taraxacum officinale, for identifying purposes. Thank you for watching.